This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, presented by SEPTA, a weekly recap of your 2024 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, The Capitol Grill, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Boy, we really have a special show for you tonight. And the way we start each of our shows is by identifying the celebrities. And we've got three of them for you today. Of course, beginning with my co-host, Gary Matthews, one of the most memorable personalities in Phillies history, known simply as the Sarge, a club ambassador now, but of course, the former outfielder played 16 seasons in the major leagues, including 3 with the Phillies, 81 through 83. He was the most valuable player in the 1983 National League Championship Series. Now, how many people can make that claim? Only one. He also played for the San Francisco Giants, 72 to 76. Of course, with San Francisco, Gary won the NL Rookie of the Year award in 1973. And with Atlanta, he was a member of the National League All-Star team. So, ladies and gentlemen, having a nice welcome for number 34, Phillies left fielder Gary Matthews.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's right in here. I didn't even read all of it, Sarge. I could have gone on for another 5 minutes.
Oh, let's
Rob
not.
and Richard. Now, on Sarge's left, talk about baseball royalty. We have that for you today with these three gentlemen. This is Richard Allen Jr. You may have heard of his father, Dick Allen, the first great African-American star player for the Philadelphia Phillies. And when the discussion comes up about who is the greatest player that is not yet enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, most people will say number 15, Dick Allen. So we're going to talk about Dick and why he belongs in baseball's Hall of Fame, and also his significance socially in the city of Philadelphia. Now, at tonight's game, Rob Holliday is the Phillies Director of Scouting Administration. He was an outstanding second baseman collegiately at the University of Massachusetts. Voted the top defensive second baseman in Division I NCAA college baseball as a junior and a senior. He's now the director of our scouting administration, and he's put together an enormously exciting program for tonight's unveiling before the Phillies Colorado Rockies game. Rob Holliday, right here. Rob, could you please start us off with telling us about the wonderful display that you've created for the Phillies, who it honors, and its significance, please.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon to everyone here. Yes, we are officially unveiling a display in the ballpark. It's called Pioneers in Pinstripes. And this was actually born out of a discussion I had over a year ago with John Middleton. And John is, of course, our Phillies managing partner and CEO, and he's really a history buff of the Phillies as well. And we were talking about some of the players from back in the day, from during the integration period, and we figured out that there was a lot of players that people just didn't know about. So we wanted to find a way to recognize them and highlight them so people can learn about who they were, because they came up during a turbulent time and it was tough, and they have stories to tell. So we created this display about the pioneers who wore pinstripes back in the days following Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. So on a day like today, Jackie Robinson Day, one of my favorite days of the year, we're going to have the official unveiling, and it's up in the Hall of Fame level. And what it is, it's going to show who a lot of these players and staff were from that time. We're focusing on the time from right after Jackie broke the barrier in 1947 up until when Dick Allen became the first black superstar player. There's other information on other players from other time periods, but that's what the focus is on. So you'll see in the display, it'll show you about a player that many have never heard of. His name is Ted Washington. He was the first black player the Phillies signed in 1952. Outstanding athlete from Camden High School. We signed him. Then he got drafted into the Korean War and never played for the Phillies, but he was the first. So a lot of people don't know about him, and there are many others. So that's what the goal of the display is, to shine a light on some of these well-known and lesser-known players back from that era in Phillies history.
Well, Rob, I can't wait. Well, I've seen the display. I've been through it a couple times. In fact, one of my doctors came to the game on Saturday, and I took he and his family around. Of course, I've seen you there. And, you know, when I was there on Saturday looking at everything, and you have a great picture up there.
Yeah, Rob was telling me. I will have my grandkids actually come up and check that out. So I'm glad it's going to stay, too.
John Middleton was up there going around looking at everything.
Wow, yeah.
And you could just see him glowing. And if there's anybody, to me, who's most prominently featured, Richard, it's your dad. Tell us a little bit, if you would, Richard, about your recollection of your father as a player and your recollection of him and the Phillies teams that he played for. And by the way, Richard's wife, Heather, is right over here. So this is Richard Allen Jr., everybody, right here.
Well, if I have to go back, like Rob said, with the name the Pioneers, it goes back to John Ogden, who scouted my father. My father graduated high school. He said he begged for just to have one night to celebrate graduating. He said, okay. He got the one night, and the very next day, he said John Ogden pulled up, and they went from Wampum to Elmira, New York, with the Elmira Pioneers. And that's how he started his career, right there. And like Rob was saying, the Pioneers, that's where he got the name the Pioneers in baseball.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold it right there. Mark, would you come up here a minute, please? This is one of the foremost collectors, ladies and gentlemen, in the Philadelphia area. And Mark has something for you, Richard.
For me? Oh.
Mark, could you display it? And
Oh my gosh.
now,
Wow.
Wow.
Richard, this is a replica jersey. Your dad didn't wear it when he played for Williamsport. I'd like to have it signed by him. I'd like
Yes.
to have it.
That's very nice. That is.
Wow, that is
Oh, wow.
Williamsport. Okay.
Yeah. That is great.
oh,
I like that. That's that. Oh,
Well-
that's for me?
wait,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Mark, tell me your last name again.
Weisner.
Mark Weissner.
Wow.
And
I really appreciate that.
forgive me for forgetting for a moment, Mark. That is so nice of you to remember. So you see, Richard,
Yes.
Mark heard about your coming, and he put together this little gift for you.
I really do appreciect that. That is
Wow.
really nice.
Sure
I
is.
I'll see you.
We have so many nice people. Mark Weissner. Sarge, you have contributed greatly to Major League Baseball and to this organization. And you know, we didn't even mention, you were one of the most popular broadcasters we had for 7 years.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, really. A lot of fun. Even though Larry Anderson and I would get called up in the office for saying something maybe that wasn't so appropriate, but it was a lot of fun.
Could you tell us about your experience coming into Major League Baseball? And did you still have to put up with a lot of that racial prejudice and stuff like that? Was it a little bit better by the time you arrived on this scene?
Well, for me, it was, and I came up in the Giants organization, and most of our teams that we played for were like in Fresno and Arizona, so therefore you were in really great states. However, Dusty Baker, who came up with the Atlanta Braves, was more in the South. He went through a lot of that even there. Only one time in Double-A. I played in Amarillo, and going to Little Rock, Arkansas, there were some challenges there for sure. But personally for me, it's almost been pretty smooth, sailing. I thought my toughest league was actually Double-A, not even the major leagues. We only had, I think, 2 guys that hit 300, and that was Lee Lacy and Bill North. I don't know if you remember Bill
Chicago
North.
Cubs.
And also with the A's, and then I led the league in everything else. So I was on my way, but Charlie Fox, you remember Charlie Fox at all?
Yeah.
Manager of the Giants.
Yeah.
Learned a real good lesson from him after my Double-A season. Gary Maddox and I were both hitting close to almost 400. Wow. And I'll never forget it because Steve Olivares actually hit into a double play. And I was on first, and I said, "Hey, Charlie, I can't believe you didn't let me steal that base. We're only down 1. And he looked at me and he says, "You don't get paid to ask questions. Get your stuff and go down." That's how I got sent to AAA. But I think personally that you can use that to kind of fuel you to even do better, as opposed to go, "Oh man, I can't believe it that I got sent down." And Charlie actually took credit for me being in the major leagues because he said if he hadn't sit me down, I wouldn't have had that incentive to get there. But he was wrong about that. I obviously wanted to get there with Mays, McCubby, my best friend Gary Maddox. So there were some challenges, but not like a lot of the other players, I think, that came up through the South because it still wasn't accepted. In the California and playing in that league, it was more of kind of a melting pot, if you would. So I had no problems that way at all.
Dick Allen had to play in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1963. Your outstanding career and Dick Allen's overlapped.
I played against him, and he was a no-nonsense player with a reputation that could hit any particular pitcher. Dick, for me, and looking at him, and rightfully so, kind of played with a chip on his shoulder, because no matter what he did, wasn't really recognized, like, say, for instance, Mays or, Hank Aaron. And he was as good a hitter. Maybe not with all the stats, but in terms of, fairness. Don't look for Dick Allen to make the last out of the game. That's just not going to happen. And he endured, and they played with some really tough pitchers, and Koufax and Drysdale and those guys. And, you had to be able to hit, then Dick felt like he was as good as anyone else, and guess what? He was. He definitely was. It was an honor to be able to talk with him back on the days where we would have the alumni come in, sit in his same seat every single year. It was, I could hardly wait to get there to hear some of the stories, and boy, did he have a lot, because he lived a lot in coming up and going through the things that he did. So it was a pleasure, it was an honor to be around him, and man, what a hitter. Man, what a hitter.
Some of the longest balls I ever saw were the home runs by Dick Allen. I mean, he used to launch them over the left field roof at the Connie Mack Stadium. That's quite a distance. And above the Coca-Cola sign, the billboards on the top of that. Did you ever see one of those long home runs of your dad's?
I have, but it was more with the White Sox that I could remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, your dad hit one to center field that nobody else ever did. Am I right, Richard?
From what I understand, Harry Carey was out there with the net, and he almost caught it. And I've listened to the YouTube playback, and I mean, wow, he was animated with how he almost caught, from that stand out there.
We had to go away for a commercial break, but we'll be right back with Gary Matthews, Richard Allen Jr., and Rob Holliday after this message.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car.
Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus.
I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Hey, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Dive into our delectable seasonal seafood specials, including our Chickies and Pete's Sticky Lobster Tacos, succulent Brazilian tail meat in a spicy sauce, or try our Chicky and Pete's Shrimp Po' Boy, our signature fried shrimp, lettuce, roasted tomato, and a cherry pepper sauce, served on a fresh baguette. Plus, don't forget our Chicky and Pete's buy one, get one sweet and tasty snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday, only at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
This is the Independence Blue Cross Bowl Session. This is the Independence Blue Cross Bowl Session, presented by SEPTA, a weekly recap of your 2024 Phillies, broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, The Capitol Grill, Independence Blue Cross, and SEPTA. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chickies and Pete's. Boy, what a great place to do a radio show from, to come before or after a sporting event. The flagship Chickies and Pete's at 1526 Packer Avenue. Look who we've assembled today. Gary Matthews, Sarge, Richard Allen Jr. Yes, that Richard Allen Jr. And Rob Holliday, Phillies Director of Scouting Administration. Rob, tell us a little bit about your career through the years with the Phillies since your arrival from UMass.
Sure. Well, I actually started in the sales and marketing department. And
Wow.
My original job was to help resurrect baseball in the inner city. So we started the RBI program.
Sure.
This was a long time ago. I've been here. Been here over 36 years now. So at that time, there wasn't a lot of baseball being played around the city. So the Phillies partnered with Department of Parks and Recreation, and we got the kids playing again. So we got the numbers up to about 6,000 to 8,000, and that's kind of where it stays now. So after a while, I moved into the baseball operations, into the scouting department. So I've been there for 25 years or 26 years or so. But I kept some of those programs. I still stay involved with the RBI program. And about 10 years ago, we opened the Urban Youth Academy, which is kind of the next level to RBI. The kids that play RBI recreationally, they have fun with it. Some of them that have potential to go to the next level, they get to come to our Urban Youth Academy and get more advanced training. So, but my real day job is at, Director of Amateur Scouting Administration. I'm involved with, I work with all the scouts all over the world, so I help with the process for the draft and for the international player signings. So that's exciting as well. So everything I do is introducing baseball to kids for the first time, or to high-level amateur players coming into professional baseball for the first time. So it's exciting.
And I remember you arranging appearances for Dick Allen, and I was at a number of those appearances as well. And, Richard, I know you're aware because you were there for the dedication.
Yes.
This man played ladies and gentlemen, not too far from this beautiful Packer Park area of South Philadelphia, we have Roosevelt Park. Some of the old-timers might know it as the Lakes, right across from the Wells Fargo Center and in the South Philadelphia Sports Complex. And there are two magnificent youth fields that the Phillies have put there. One is Richie Ashburn Field, and one is Dick Allen Field. Who do you think helped name that Dick Allen Field?
Well, that's our Urban Youth Academy fields.
Yeah.
We have the two baseball fields there and two softball fields in FDR Park. So it was a no-brainer. The first field named after Richie Ashburn, who I know Richie and Dick were close friends, and I got a chance to know Richie very well as well. And it was a no-brainer to put Dick's name on the other field. So I'm really happy that it's there and proud of that.
Well, thank you so much for doing that,
Yes.
Rob. And tell us your thoughts on Dick Allen as a player.
Oh, well, I mean, he could do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and he did it in such a tough time that I can't imagine how good he would have been if he started his career 10 years later. But just listening to him talk about it, he was just such a passionate player, and he just wanted to play. Yeah. And I think if he could have just been able to just focus even more on the field, he would have done even so much more damage. But to be able to hit close to 300 for your career and hit all those with that power that he had, he was just such a tremendous athlete and a baseball player. I mean, he's at an elite level, and he there's no question he's had a career equal to be in Cooperstown, and I hope he gets there. If he doesn't, it doesn't diminish one little thing that he's done. So
well, the vote comes up again this year, Richard, in December, right?
In December, yes.
Yeah, I think he'll get in. I mean, it's when you look at it, and he's better than most of the players that are in there. It's hard to make an argument that he should not be. And you do have to take into the times when the player was actually playing. But he did it his way, and he did it the right way.
The last two times that his name has come up for a vote, ladies and gentlemen, he has missed by one vote.
How can that be?
It was a 16-member committee. You had to get 12 votes. Dick got 11 votes. Richard was there.
Yes.
Where they took the vote both times, and just heartbreaking. But I have to believe he's going to get there. And I want to give you an example of what his dad and his family had to go through. Richard's wife and son now are here. Trey, All-American high school basketball player. What was the high school, Richard, where Trey went?
Oh, I'm looking at him. St. John Newman.
Did you forget?
I know.
Well, listen, there was one other, I was starting to go somewhere and I forgot where the hell I was going. Well, that's nothing new.
Rob, how do you recruit the younger kids to get to the program and then continue on? What is the mechanism for having the inner city kids get even more involved? And are there girls now from softball? Are they involved in the program at all?
Absolutely. There are boys and girls. The girls' softball program is growing. And the most important thing is you have to offer a program that's convenient and easy for them to join. So that's why when we started the RBI program, we have locations all over the city, 50 or 60 locations, because if you have baseball or softball in the neighborhood, the kids are going to be more likely to play. After all these years I've been doing this, I've never seen a lack of interest. It's only been a lack of opportunity. And the more opportunities you can provide, the better. So once you get them started playing, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, you have to have the leagues at the upper level so that they can sustain and keep playing. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have, not just here in Philadelphia, but nationwide, is that you have to be able to provide enough leagues to get them from playing T-ball level up through high school to hopefully get them to a level where they can get to college and play. That's really the goal. And once they get to college, then hopefully they'll get the coaching and development they need to maybe get out here to on the big league field one day. So that's the key, is just providing as many opportunities as possible.
Where I was going before when I lost my train of thought, Richard and I have become very friendly over the last several years. We try to get together for breakfast, lunch, or dinner a couple times a year. And Heather over there with Trey?
Yeah.
But he was telling me a story one time when we were out. Hi, Lou. It's always great to see Lou here, that wonderful manager of Chickies and Pete's at 15th and Packer. And when they lived in Philadelphia, Sarge, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, because I could be misremembering something here.
Okay.
But I believe that he told me he and his sister, it was around the holiday period too, I think, they're playing in their living room in this nice home in Westmount area, which I think is a really neat neighborhood. A rock comes through the window.
Yeah.
Kids are sitting there. Kids! Richard, what the heck happened there?
Well, all I know is we're just sitting there and just boom, it was like a bay window in the front.
Yeah.
Rock landed right there. My sister was sitting right next, and she started screaming. My mother's looking around, and we look out, and the car just speeds off. Yeah. So it's things like that. So what you were mentioning earlier about my father having to, hit near 300, but, doing that, I don't sound like him. He'd always say, I don't like to polish my own apple, but you think about having to go to your job and having that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And still produce. So you hit a point there, which I wanted to bring that up. That'd be difficult for anybody. Any type of job, if you're working and you're wondering if your wife and kids are okay, and perform at a high level. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that happened with a lot of players, and particularly Hank Aaron, and going through and breaking Babe Ruth's record, having the opportunity to see some of the hate mail, you go like, you got to be kidding me. But again, he turned it around as more of a fun thing and saying, hey, let's just go on and get it over with. And Al Downing tried to sneak that little fastball by him, and that ain't going to happen. And home run. So
Well, you hear about the most prolific sluggers of all time, and Babe Ruth's name comes up, and Jimmy Fox, and now, of course, they can measure the distance of a home run very accurately. But I'm on this committee headed up by Mark Carfagno, who's been campaigning for Dick Allen in the Hall of Fame for years, and Mark does a great job with that. He's been heartbroken a couple of times by Dick just missing, but we're going to get there. We're about halfway through the show. We're going to come back, and now we're going to take a look at today's Phillies.
Okay.
And disappointing loss yesterday, but we're still at 500 with a real good chance to make up some ground this week against two of the worst clubs in Major League Baseball, the Rockies and the White Sox. This is the time to do it, and we'll be right back with Rob Halladay, Richard Allen Jr., and Gary Matthews in a moment.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
Hey, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Dive into our delectable seasonal seafood specials, including our Chickies and Pete's Sticky Lobster Tacos, succulent Brazilian tail meat in a spicy sauce, or try our Chickie and Pete's Shrimp Po' Boy, our signature fried shrimp, lettuce, roasted tomato, and a cherry pepper sauce, served on a fresh baguette. Plus, don't forget our Chickie and Pete's buy one, get one sweet and tasty snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday, only at Chickies and Pete's.
I SEPTA Philly.
I SEPTA Phillie. I SEPTA Phillie.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car.
Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus. I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Rob Halladay, Richard Allen Jr., Gary Matthews, and me, Dan Baker. Every week, we pick a Phillies Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. And our expert does that. Our expert is Gary Matthews.
Oh, really? Okay.
Who have you picked?
Brandon Marsh. I like his energy. Like the way that he goes about his job, even though yesterday I thought it was kind of a careless kind of error, because if he's in front of that instead of the side, at least it hits him in front. When things start to go bad, these are the little things that you want to do to keep your ball club in the game. But however, I thought he brought a lot of energy, excellent defensive player. That's one that he gets 10 out of 10 times there. It's not going to get by him. But I think personally for me, the longer he's out there, the better the club is, because he does things for your ball club to win.
Well, the Phillies, with everything, are 8-8.
Yeah.
And I know coming off of yesterday's game, that was kind of deflating. Sarge, where do we stand right now with this club?
Well, they've been up and down. They still have really a good team. I just, again, looking at some of the at-bats, feel that, instead of maybe moving a runner or making solid contacts, they end up being, strikeouts. When Bryce Harper swings at strikes, he does damage. And the balls that I saw him swing at the other day, they were a ball when it left the pitcher's hand. You could almost just tell, and he swung at, I think, 3 balls there in the dirt. And then Castellanos came up and delivered a base hit, but then he goes in and out. The consistency for me comes when you're hitting the ball hard, just consistently. Good things are going to happen. But they are a team that are kind of used to being able to come back. They've done it the last couple of years of their playing. But with the teams that are coming in now, the White Sox, Colorado, for me, I'm looking like sweep. I'll take the 2 out of 3, but you don't want to be on the other end of that at all. And they're coming in probably thinking that, this is a good time to be playing the Phillies because of the fact they have certain guys that aren't hitting. We'll be able to actually tell. And I'm going to mention one other thing, and then maybe Rob can answer this. I saw a play yesterday, a one-hopper, Bowen hit, catches the ball, and he slips and gets a hit. Now, if I can get those hits, I'm close to 3,000. You give me back mine, they went off the glove. What is going on with the official scorekeepers that, again, losing the integrity of the game, just giving out hits when you're not really earning those hits, or pass balls? I mean, what do we got going on here?
Well, I don't have an answer for you, but I agree with you. The scoring has been very lenient, and I always favor the infielders. Don't give them an error, please. But right. So I don't know. The scoring philosophy has definitely been different, and that's a good question to ask. Maybe we can talk to someone on the umpiring side from MLB and see if anything has changed. But I was surprised by that as well.
Yeah, I could see you get in the air with the ball in the sun. But once you catch it, you're a major leaguer. You got to be able to get the ball to first base. And it wasn't even if it was a hard hit ball, maybe I could see that. I mean, this was crazy. I mean, I don't know whether it's umpires, ex-umpires, or ex-players that determine or have that job. But I can tell you this. The gentleman that is in there now hasn't played any baseball. That is for sure.
Richard, your son Trey is here.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about some of his athletic accomplishments.
Well, let's see. I put a baseball in his hand when he was 2. He did t-ball, went on up through high school and college. But to stay in shape, like my father, he played basketball, and basketball was where I think he went a little bit further in high school because they lost to math, civic, science 2 times in a row in the state playoffs. Same location, same gym, same team. So, but yeah, he played Cecil, JUCO at Cecil, and then he went on to Bluefield for baseball.
Well, your dad was a great basketball player.
Yes.
And at 5'10 and a half, he could dunk easily.
Wow.
And 2 of the players that you had mentioned that John Ogden signed your dad. He was from Chester, Pennsylvania, which is where my wife Kathy is from.
All right.
Chester, there's quite a few people from Chester High School who played in Major League Baseball.
He was telling me a story when he, in high school, he said they had to come through Chester, and he used to always call the name. He said, but when he was in high school, he was only like 5'8". He said, we're playing Chester, and they were always tough. He said, I just remember taking the lane, I'm going down the paint, going for a layup, and he said he saw 2 legs on the side of his head and pinned his shot against the backboard. He called the person by name. I can't.
Wow. Granny Lash is a guy that played on the Chester team. Granny Lash and your father were on the Pennsylvania All-State basketball team in 1960. Wow. Granny went on to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. And unfortunately, he passed about 2 years ago. But in fact, when Richie Ashburn went up to recruit him, this is after the White Sox, and they traded him to Atlanta, and your dad was going to retire. And Richie Ashburn tells the story. I think it was Richie Ashburn, Mike Schmidt. They went up to Percy.
I actually remember that.
And they said or maybe I'm conflating this with another story with Mark Arfagno, but he said there was a basket on a garage front next to their house, and at that age, he took it standing flat foot. And what happened, Richard?
He could dunk from a standstill with 2 basketballs, up one, come down, and then the other.
That's heavy.
Yeah, he had a pretty good vertical.
Man, oh man, he and Rob Holiday.
Right. Well, later on I found out that during spring training, he said him and Dallas Green, they'd go get pickup games, and
Of course, Dallas was 6'5", and by the way, on a sad note, I understand that Dallas's wife Sylvia is not feeling well. But, we've only won 2 World Series. Dallas Green was the winning manager in 1980. Charlie Manager, the winning manager in 2008. And, one of the things about time moving on, seems like the older you get, the more illnesses, and of course we lose people.
That's the truth.
And but of course, all of us are so young here. We're going to be around for a while here. And Rob, on looking at the current Phillies, how do you see this club? How does it compare with the last 2 years in which the Phillies went far in the playoffs? Of course, they got to the World Series in 2022, and last year it looked like they were going to go again when they had a 1-game lead, and games 6 and 7 to be played at Citizens Bank Park, and then unfortunately in those 2 games we forgot how to hit. But of course that happens with sports, peaks and valleys. But in comparing this year's Phillies team, Rob, to the last 2 years, in what ways are they similar? In what ways are they not alike?
Well, this team has a tremendous nucleus, and they have good clubhouse leadership. And don't forget, this is a marathon and not a sprint. We split the games with the Pirates. The Pirates are actually playing pretty well. They deserve some credit for that as well. But I think that what you have that's different now is this team has more experience. I mean, they went through those 2 years, and they've learned from it. And I know the goal in spring training was to go in and try to correct some of those things that didn't work at the end in the previous years. So I know that they're aware of it. I mean, we see it, and they know it. So they're working on it, and I think they have the talent to talent-wise, I don't see there's any team that's better than the Phillies in all of Major League Baseball. I don't think there's anybody any better. Hopefully we'll play up to that caliber enough to get to the next level. But this team has depth, too. I mean, we still have players coming back. We just got Kerkering back the other day. Taijuan Walker will be making his way back. So there's some pitching depth. And with adding Merrifield, you have some depth in the position players as well. And you need depth for a long season.
Sure.
So, I'm really optimistic. And we'll just, we keep talking about taking series. I just want to win tonight. Let's just go tonight and just take care of business tonight, and we'll worry about tomorrow. But I think this team is capable of going all the way, and I know that they are, and I know they're expecting it. So we'll see.
Who would you say would be our closer that we would count on? And it almost seems to me like they're like a dying dinosaur. I mean, from looking at, remember the way that lights out Lidge pitched? I mean, we just counted on him, and when he came in the game, you felt like the game was actually over. Compared that club or the club we have now, who would be our consistent closer, or you would feel, hey, I can give him that 7th game and get us into the playoffs or first place?
Well, I think the way that Rob Thompson is doing it now, they're doing it by matchups, and I think we have depth back there to be able to do that. So I think if you went back to the way things used to be done, you had one pitcher in the 9th inning every game, it'd probably be Alvarado. But you can pitch Alvarado in the 8th if the harder the other team's lineup is coming up, and you can have someone like Hoffman or Kerkering or these other guys have experience in the 9th now too. So that's what I like about it, is you have a lot of options, and when you pitch days in a row, not everyone is available all the time. So I think good options. So I think that's the way it'll probably go all year, and I feel good about who's back there.
Okay.
We have to take our last commercial break, but I want to ask you about Spencer Strider with the Atlanta Braves. Looks like he's gone for the season now. And Sir Anthony Dominguez, Phillies relief pitcher. And we'll do that as we begin the last segment of today's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session in just a moment.
I SEPTA Philly.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car.
Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus. I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Hey, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Dive into our delectable seasonal seafood specials, including our Chickies and Pete's Sticky Lobster Tacos, succulent Brazilian tail meat in a spicy sauce, or try our Chicky and Pete's Shrimp Po' Boy, our signature fried shrimp, lettuce, roasted tomato, and a cherry pepper sauce, served on a fresh baguette. Plus, don't forget our Chicky and Pete's buy one, get one sweet and tasty snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday, only at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Hey, hi everybody. Thanks to all of you for joining us this afternoon at Chickies and Pete's. Now, of course, this radio show, Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, is on WBCB 1490 AM, and you can hear that this evening at 6 o'clock, Chris? 6 o'clock. And of course, it's earlier. All right, maybe it's 5:30 tonight. It's on 1490 AM, 107.3 FM. And right now, we're being live streamed. So you could see us anywhere in the world. And so if you get, some requests from, foreign countries, let us know.
Thanks, Dan.
Talking about, the pitcher Spencer Strider, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, who seems to be up and down. He does some good things. He seems to give up a home run almost every outing. Anyway, first with Spencer Strider. Rob, we were talking during the commercial break. I don't think anybody is quite sure, what's going on, because they're somewhat discreet. They don't know for sure themselves how this is going to be. But your understanding, Rob, is what?
No, I'm not familiar with his injury. I just, I hate to see anyone get injured, but I think he's going to be out for the rest of the year, from what I heard.
Yeah, and that has to hurt Atlanta, doesn't it, Gary?
You know what? They have a real good hitting club, and the more that they're relaxed, the better they hit. And usually the Braves from past, they have probably somebody in the minor leagues that's pretty close, I would think. I mean, they always have for the last several years, and they have their eye on somebody, trust me.
One of the rumors I read in the paper yesterday was Zach Greinke. If they were just looking for somebody to take up innings, he's had a couple of horrific years, closing out his career. You were talking about how when some of the greats reached older age and they just couldn't play the way they once did. Zach is one of those guys. He was a darn good pitcher in his prime, but I think he's past that prime now.
I believe Father Time is undefeated. That's what they're saying.
Lefty went through the same thing. I mean, you just, as great a pitcher, as he was, when you go through that, you still think you can get guys out. You still think you have it, but those younger guys, the opposition will let you know that you don't have it at all. And, it's just, that was just time.
Could you react to Richard? Do you follow the 2024 Phillies closely?
Not as close. I usually wait till after the All-Star game, and when they start making that run, yeah. So I'll start then.
Well, Sir Anthony Dominguez was another pitcher I wanted to ask you guys about. Sarge. Sir Anthony had a couple monster seasons a few years ago before his injury. And since he's come back, he seems like he's got that velocity back, but maybe not quite the command he once did.
Yeah, I was going to say, personally for me, I like the command over velocity. And Greg Maddux was a great example of that. Didn't throw, he threw 91, 92 maybe, but he could pinpoint the ball, and he was smart enough that when he wanted a ground ball, at least he'd try and get the ball low. I see in situations here, and it happened the other night with Castellanos, pitcher just reared back, threw him a ball hard as he could right down the middle. He wasn't even thinking of a ground ball, and any ball that's up is the ball you want to swing at with runners on second or third or the bases loaded, and particularly with one out. You don't want a ball that's low because you're more apt to hit a ground ball. And I thought it was, crazy that he didn't even try and get it. First pitch, game over. I don't know what the philosophy is or the thinking is, but you cannot throw that ball by everybody, and particularly if they're looking for a fastball, and Castellanos put really a good swing on that ball, and they needed that game for sure.
Rob, the Phillies have some pretty good relief pitchers in that bullpen. You mentioned Jose Alvarado, Gregory Soto. They just reinstated Orion Kerkering. Matt Strom, I think, has done a pretty good job out there. I don't know if there's anybody else on the way from the minors or anything, but, Ricardo Pinto has done a pretty good job, and he was great in the Venezuelan World Series last winter. Who else is coming along? Is there somebody that we haven't seen yet?
Well, I don't know. I think we have a lot of them up here right now, and those are some really good options. And you just don't know where it's going to come from. You got, Pinto, his second stint back with us. It was really nice to see him throw well, come back. And don't forget about Hoffman. I mean, I think he's got a high ceiling too. I mean, he can come in. He might be able to close some games. So, there's other arms down in the minors that aren't, probably quite ready yet. But I'm sure there'll be some of them that emerge and they'll come up and contribute at some point if they have to. Let's hope they don't have to. But yeah, like I said, I have a lot of confidence in this club and in their pitching depth and with what the guys in the bullpen can do. And, it'll all come together. I mean, these guys have proven that they can play at a high level. And, you talk about Sir Anthony. And, when you come back from the surgeries and the injuries that we have, often it takes a little while to get the velocity and command back. So, maybe he'll keep improving as the year goes on. So I'm optimistic, and I'm looking forward to this team getting hot.
Do you regret at all that we let Craig Kimbrell walk?
Well, that's not my area. I mean, I'm just going to focus on the guys that we have here, and the guys that we have here, I think we're very high on. And Craig did a good job when he was here. And we let Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fold and Rob Thompson take care of the majors. I stay with my amateur stuff.
Sarge, you want to react to that?
Well, speaking of amateur stuff, one of the kids that was touted as a really good player for the Phillies, and Kingery, what's his particular progress there in the minor leagues? And second part, with Rojas, is there anything they can do to get him to start to make a little better contact?
Scott Kingery,
yes.
Referring to? Yeah, well, Scott was a good up-and-coming prospect.
Sure.
And then he had some injuries and he struggled, and he still got a chance to come up and make a contribution. It's hard when you look at this Phillies team, and let's just say when we're playing the other team, you look at the other team and say, who from that team would I take over what we have?
Sure.
It's hard to find someone. So I feel bad for players that are in the minor leagues with the Phillies because it's hard to break into this lineup. So I don't know what will happen with Scott Kingery's future, but Johan Rojas, I mean, he's working hard, and he had some success last year. He's a young player.
Sure he is.
He's on the right team that we don't need him to hit a ton because that defense is phenomenal.
Sure
and,
it is.
He's in the right spot to help this team win, and I think that he's such a hard worker, and we have a great hitting coaches and hitting program. They'll get him better, and he'll keep working at it.
Rob Holliday, Richard Allen Jr., thank you very much for joining Sarge and me today. Don't forget Phillies Rockies tonight at 6:40. And once again, thank you everybody for coming. Next week, we're at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. Former Phillies pitcher Art Mahaffey will be our guest. Mickey Morandini joins us as our co-host. Good afternoon, everybody. Right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks to Chris Ermer, producer. Good.